He was back the following year, however, but sadly trainer Dan Moore and owner Tony Robinson had both died in the time in between 1980 and 1981. Tide Cottage was sent off at 15-2, but the favourite was the Michael Dickinson-trained 7-2 shot Silver Buck, a prolific winning chaser. He headed the market, the going was soft, and once again there were 15 runners.
Silver Buck, 130 favourite, a few of them turning now. Royal Judgment turning, Midnight Court, Spartan Missile, 4 in the ground, rest to stay, and they're away. And Tide Cottage, the veteran, is the first to show from Spartan Missile and So-and-So, and then Little Owl and Midnight Court and Raffy Nelson as they come to the first of the 22 fences. Tide Cottage lands in the lead from Spartan Missile, and they're all safely over the first. Jacket Trumps and Royal Bond, the two back markers, and Tide Cottage, the old man, taking him along at the second. Tide Cottage clear of Spartan Missiles, So-and-So and Diamond Edge. Behind them come Raffy Nelson and Little Owl and Royal Judgment. Then comes Night Nurse approaching on the inside of Midnight Court and Chinralla next, and then Fairview, then Silver Buck, Jack of Trumps and Royal Bond. Quite a long run to the third, another plain fence. And Tide Cottage, bidding to become the first 13-year-old ever to win the Gold Cup, has a 10-length advantage now over Spartan Missile and Diamond Edge and So-and-So and Raffy Nelson and Little Owl as he comes down to the third. Tide Cottage, knee sheepskin noseband, well clear, jumps it beautifully. Spartan Missile next with So-and-So and Diamond Edge, and behind Diamond Edge is Raffy Nelson, and then Little Owl and Night Nurse and approaching. Coming to the water now, Tide Cottage all on his own. Jumps the water, well clear. Coming to it now, Diamond Edge, Spartan Missile and Raffy Nelson and Little Owl and So-and-So and Night Nurse, and approaching, and behind approaching is Midnight Court, and then Silver Buck, and the leader over the ditch there, Tide Cottage, from Diamond Edge, Spartan Missile, Raffy Nelson and Little Owl, and on the outside Night Nurse, and then approaching, and then So-and-So, and behind them Silver Buck, and over the sixth Tide Cottage has gone! Tide Cottage belted that and he's gone. He unshipped Liam O'Donnell. He's going on, the old man, on his own. He hit the top of that very hard indeed, gave Liam very little chance of recovery, virtually none, rather like the case of Good Prospect and the Prince of Wales on the first day of the meeting. Coming to the open ditch now, the second ditch, and Diamond Edge going to jump it in the lead from Raffy Nelson and Spartan Missile. Just in behind them, Night Nurse and Little Owl, and then approaching and So-and-So and Midnight Court as they race to the fence at the top of the hill. Number 8, Diamond Edge from Night Nurse, who jumps it second. Little Owl is third, Raffy Nelson 4, So-and-So and Spartan Missile next, followed by Midnight Court. Behind Midnight Court is approaching, and then Royal Judgment, and then Silver Buck and Fairview, and behind them Chinralla, Royal Bond, and finally Jack of Trumps. They race down to number 9, preceded by the riderless Tide Cottage. Diamond Edge jumped it in the lead from Night Nurse, Raffy Nelson and Little Owl, and then Spartan Missile, and approaching, and So-and-So on the outside, and Silver Buck and Midnight Court. And behind them, Fairview, Royal Judgment. Spartan Missile on the inside now, jumps just in the lead from Diamond Edge. The outside of Diamond Edge, Night Nurse, then Raffy Nelson and Little Owl, and approaching, and Silver Buck and So-and-So and Midnight Court and Fairview and Chinralla and Royal Judgment, Royal Bond and Jack of Trumps. They level up to face the 11th. It'll be the second last on the next circuit. Night Nurse and Diamond Edge disputing it behind the riderless Tide Cottage. Just behind them come Little Owl and then Spartan Missile. Then Raffy Nelson and Silver Buck and So-and-So and approaching, and Royal Judgment and Chinralla and Midnight Court and Royal Bond and Jack of Trumps. Now one more before they go out in the country on the final circuit. Night Nurse and Diamond Edge. Those two from Little Owl. Behind Little Owl is Spartan Missile, Raffy Nelson getting a reminder, then Silver Buck going well, then So-and-So and Royal Judgment, then approaching a Midnight Court, and then Royal Bond, and behind Royal Bond is Chinralla, and then Fairview, and finally Jack of Trumps. Next will be number 13, Diamond Edge on the inside of Night Nurse, Little Owl just behind them, then Raffy Nelson, then Spartan Missile and Silver Buck and Midnight Court and So-and-So and approaching, and Royal Judgment. Behind them Chinralla and Royal Bond and Jack of Trumps, and Fairview is now the back marker. At the 13th, Night Nurse and Diamond Edge from Little Owl and Raffy Nelson. Just in behind Raffy Nelson, Silverbuck, with Spartan Missile still going well on the inside. Approaching is next, and then Midnight Court on the outside, then Rollbond and Chinrallah, and then So-and-so as they come to the water. Night Nurse lands in the lead from Diamond Edge. Just behind Diamond Edge, Little Owl. Behind them, Spartan Missile and Silverbuck. And behind Silverbuck is Raffy Nelson, and approaching over the third ditch. Night Nurse lands in the lead from Diamond Edge. Then behind Diamond Edge is Little Owl. Then Spartan Missile. Behind Spartan Missile, Silverbuck. Then approaching Raffy Nelson, Royal Bond, and Jack of Trumps getting a little bit nearer as they jump the 16th. And there, Night Nurse from Diamond Edge and Little Owl. Silverbuck is now fourth. In fifth place is Spartan Missile. 6, 7, and 8 are approaching Midnight Court and Royal Bond. 9 and 10 are Jack of Trumps and Raffy Nelson as they come to the final ditch, and Night Nurse lands in the lead. And Royal Bond a faller there. Royal Bond has gone at the last ditch. He's climbed back into the saddle, but he's virtually out of it. As riders climb back, but you can count him out, and 5 from home. Night Nurse lands in the lead from Little Owl. These are the two Peter Easterby trained stable companions, Night Nurse and Little Owl, from Silverbuck and approaching. Behind approaching is Midnight Court and John Frankham going well. Then 54-year-old John Thorne on Spartan Missile. Then comes Diamond Edge and Jack of Trumps, improving now significantly as they come to the fourth from home. Night Nurse lands in the lead from Little Owl. Behind them comes Silverbuck. Behind Silverbuck is approaching. Then comes Spartan Missile. Then Jack of Trumps beginning to get into the picture too as they run down towards the third last. It's Night Nurse and Little Owl, the two stable companions from Silverbuck. Spartan Missile approaching and Jack of Trumps. And over that one, Night Nurse landed in the lead from Little Owl and Silverbuck going very well in behind Night Nurse, and it's the old rivals now as they come down towards the second last in the Tote Cheltenham Gold Cup. It's Night Nurse and Silverbuck and Little Owl. Just in behind them comes Spartan Missile and Jack of Trumps as they race towards the second last. Silverbuck has come to divide Little Owl and Night Nurse. It's Little Owl on the near side, Silverbuck on the far side now. Little Owl lands in the lead from Silverbuck. Night Nurse, then comes Spartan Missile and Jack of Trumps racing to the final fence now. And it's Little Owl from Silverbuck and Night Nurse. Little Owl with a 2-length advantage at the last. Little Owl lands in the lead. Silverbuck and Night Nurse next, and racing into the closing stages. It's Little Owl being pressed by Night Nurse. Little Owl and Night Nurse, the two stable companions. Jim Wilson from Alan Brown. Little Owl is holding Night Nurse. Jim Wilson becomes the first amateur to win it since 1947. Little Owl wins the Gold Cup from Night Nurse. Third is Silverbuck, 4 Spartan Missile, 5 and 6 are Diamond Edge and Jack of Trumps, and then came Royal Judgment, and then approaching and pulled up.
A 1-2 for trainer Peter Easterby. Little Owl was the winner of the 1981 Gold Cup at 6-1 by a length and a half. Night Nurse just failing to become the first horse to complete the Champion Hurdle Gold Cup double, second also at 6-1, with the Michael Dickinson trained Tommy Carmody ridden Silverbuck 7-2 favourite